Do you not put your laundry away either? I sure as hell don't. Hi. So, you got yourself a gig. Dinner jazz. What's dinner jazz? Dinner jazz, as I call it, I'm sure other people call it this, it is a watered down version of what you might play for an audience that is there only to see jazz. If you're playing for a jazz audience, you might play out more. You might mess with time. You might play crazy shit that goes over the heads of your average listener. Dinner jazz, you want to water all that down so it's as simple as possible. The people aren't there to see you. They're there to have dinner and they're to dance and have a good time. You are part of the atmosphere that they are hoping for and that you're trying to give them, but you're not the feature. So keep that in mind. You pretty much have 3 objectives when it comes to playing dinner jazz. The first objective is the objective of, and why you were hired in the first place, is to sell alcohol. Sorry, like that's kind of what you're there for, is to get people to enjoy their meal, have a few dances, maybe have an extra 2 glasses of wine, one or whatever. You know, you just kind of want to create an environment where people want to stay in the restaurant and keep partying. Side note, when it comes to selling alcohol, sometimes the band will get a cut of the bar if you negotiate right. You say, you know, we want a flat fee, but we also want a percentage of the bar. If that's the case, then you definitely want to sell more alcohol because then you get paid more. When you do create a place where people can enjoy their dinner, but also get up and dance and there's good energy in the room, you're likely to get more money in the tip jar. That's another thing to keep in mind. Further with that, with money in the tip jar, the more tunes you know and the more requests you can play for people, the more money goes in the tip jar. So it's good to know a lot of tunes. It's good to know a lot of styles because you can cover all of those bases. Your second objective is to be quiet. You gotta shut the fuck up. These people are having dinner. They're trying to have a conversation, they're trying to enjoy themselves, and if the drummer is playing at full volume, or even if the bass player is at full volume, you're going to have the manager coming over and going, can you guys just turn it down, and that's like one of the plagues of being a musician, is getting hired for a gig. They want a live band, you show up, and then you find out that maybe they didn't really want a live band, they don't really know what they want, but now you're here, so shut the fuck up and play the music. That's how it goes. So you got to be really quiet. And I know drums are a loud instrument inherently, but they can still be played very quietly. Your third objective is don't confuse people. If you're playing like a Latin tune and you start doing all kinds of crazy independence and you got the clave on the foot and you're doing the ride bell and a cascada and you got all this stuff going on, you're going to confuse the dancers. So take any Latin kind of things you play, anything you play across the board, you just got to simplify it and make it as simple as possible so that people can dance to it. You just want to create that atmosphere. So getting into styles, these are several essential styles for playing dinner jazz. And I'm doing this video because you may get this gig. Somebody might call you and be like, oh, you're a drummer? Great, I need a drummer for this restaurant gig. And if you don't know anything about playing in a little jazz combo or whatever, you're gonna have a bad time. You're gonna have a really hard time and you're probably not gonna get called back for the gig. And that's kind of why I laid out those 3 objectives at the beginning, is because you want to get the gig again. You want them to call you back again. If you can cover all those points where you play quietly, you don't confuse people, and you sell plenty of alcohol, then you'll probably get the gig. So now getting into the styles. The first style, the most standard style that you're gonna need to learn and practice and work at and spend your life trying to figure out, like I and so many others have done, is just swing. Simple swing. Here's an example. Now, along with swing, there's brushes. You're going to play with brushes a lot, and there are a lot of different ways to use brushes. So you can do, swing with brushes like this. Might never be fun to try to be boss, but they wouldn't do. For nobody else, give me a thrill. With all of your faults, I love you still. You can also do ballads that are straight ballads, so to speak. There are a lot of different ways to play things. I'm just doing the examples that I have, but there are a lot of different ways to play with brushes. There are a lot of ways to interpret different styles on brushes. And this would be like a straight ballad. And you'll get a lot of these because you'll find that a lot of rock songs, pop songs, they're easily adapted to playing with brushes. So you can do bossas and mambos and all kinds of stuff with brushes. But in this case, it's a straight ballad. The next style that would be essential to doing dinner jazz is the Bossa Nova. Brazilian style of music, very calming, very relaxing, but also something that people like to dance to. It's a romantic kind of music. It connects people in a romantic way when you can, play it to where it sounds good. Now, if you wanted to compare the Bossa Nova I'm going to show you, compared it to what real Bossa Nova, Brazilian, Gilberto and all the old Brazilian Bossa Nova musicians, you're going to have a very different sound. Their sound has a much more authentic sound, whereas our sound is a little more watered down. So here's a Bossa Nova with sticks. And here's an interpretation where I use a brush in my right hand and a stick in my left hand. Now, I use the stick in my left hand because I still need the clave. I still need the cut, whatever pattern I want to play. I need that on the left hand, but I wanted something a little more mellow on the right hand. So instead of having the hi-hat, I switch it to a brush and do a sweeping across the snare drum back and forth to create kind of that shaker kind of, groovy kind of little feel to it. So that's what I do here. Another style is the shuffle. Now there are a lot of different kinds of shuffles. You're just a standard shuffle where you play da-ding, 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 da-da, da-ding, da-da, on the ride, and then backbeats on the snare. There's a Texas shuffle where both hands play at the same time. There are a ton of different kinds of shuffles, but in this example, it's just a basic swing shuffle where my hand is pretty much playing a swing pattern, maybe quarter notes, and my left hand is doing the shuffling. This works for dinner jazz because it's a mellow, kind of more laid back kind of shuffle. So check it out. The next style is the rumba, also known as a bolero. It's a great dance style. It comes up a lot when we do dinner gigs because people like to dance, and it's one of those kind of dancing musics that people enjoy. And it's another one of those romantic kind of musics that brings people together, connects them. So check out a rumba. Another style is a 12/8 blues. I mean, it's pretty basic. Here it is. And there again, the 12/8 blues, it kind of fits into that world of shuffles and swing and all that stuff where you can kind of interpret things differently across different styles. But when it comes down to just playing a 12/8 blues, you just lay down that hi-hat, you lay down that backbeat, and you just let it ride. The next style is the cumbia, which is a popular dance style. It comes up quite a bit in our gigs. So the cumbia is it's another dance style. It's just a groovy, fun thing. You just lay it down and let the band do the rest. And, if you know the tune, you hit the kicks. Otherwise, you kind of do like me and just kind of sit there and listen and play the beat and hope for the best. Here's a cumbia. And then the last style is Latin. Now, Latin covers a huge amount of music. And for the purposes of this video, I'm not going to go into the Huahuancó and the Mozambique and Afro-Cuban and clave and all the different son clave, rumba clave. I'm not going to go into all that because that's for another video by somebody that's more experienced at playing Latin music than I am. But when you play dinner jazz, you got to water it down. You got to make it simple so that people can hear it. If you're playing crazy independence and you're doing all this, Horatio Hernandez stuff, people aren't really going to dance to that necessarily. So you want to kind of water everything down and try to make it danceable. And so this is a very basic Latin feel. It may not be an authentic feel, but we're just kind of trying to water things down and make it simple for everybody. So here's some Latin.
Good night, everybody. Thank you so much. Good night.
And that's that. And that is that. These are the styles. If you do get the gig and you're going to go play one of these gigs, I hope this helped you figure out some things and maybe work on some styles that you hadn't worked on before and learn some things that you might want to work on. It's an easy way to make some cash, and it's kind of one of those gigs that a lot of us do because it's easy money. You don't have to rehearse. You don't have to get together ahead of time and go through the songs and figure out what you're going to play. You just get the musicians together who can handle it. Band leader calls the tunes and you go. And if you listen well and you keep it quiet, you keep it simple, you make people dance to it, you're going to have a good time. If you can't do any of that, you might not be called back for the next gig. And you might be asked by the manager to, can you keep it down a little bit? So that's it. I would say, if you do get the gig, show up early. Bring a drum rug. Always bring a drum rug. Be super cool to everybody. Be super nice to everybody. Take as many requests as you can, and do your best to create an atmosphere of joy and happiness, so that people will come together and dance and drink and put money in the tip jar. That's the goal. So, hope you enjoyed it. I certainly enjoyed making the music to make this happen. Love playing with the guys I play with. Michael Falcone, Gil Giuliao. That trio plays together quite a lot. So that's it. Hope you enjoyed. Hope it was helpful. Check out Eric and Proda reaction video coming up very soon. Probably tomorrow. All right. Cheers.